Hi, this is Pete Peterson with Stealth Health. I'm going to talk about maintaining better control during the holidays. Lots of times I talk about poor, good, better, and best choices. And sometimes during the holidays you have to understand that maybe you're not going to make the best choices all the time. And so you need to have alternatives. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll talk about how to get through some of the things that will come up, some of the skills that you can use. When I was losing the 115 pounds, my Thanksgiving was really difficult, and I gained a bunch of weight back, and I realized that I needed to update my plan, and I needed to do some things a little bit differently. And so for Christmas, which was obviously coming up soon after Thanksgiving, I came up with ideas of alternatives that I would have. I would have peanuts in a shell, for example, and if I really had a craving, if there was this pecan pie or this banana cream pie or something else around, and that I knew I didn't want to have because I knew what the repercussions would be, what it would do for my glucose level, and how I would feel, and also I didn't want to gain the weight back. I wanted to continue to be losing weight. And so if I had just really strong urges, I would go to something else, and I would count out 20 peanuts in a shell. I would shell them and I would eat them. By the time I was done, I didn't have near as much of a craving as I did before. Or I would do an alternative behavior, or such as going for a long walk and just getting myself out of the house. Some of those things are really, really helpful, and we'll talk about just a few other skills, a few other things that you can do. Also, if you click the link below, I'll give you a number of different links to different recipes that may be healthy alternatives that you might want to consider having. Holiday treats can be really difficult, and this last Thanksgiving, we went to my daughter's house, and one of the things that I did was I went and got a bunch of mixed nuts in the shell. One of the really wonderful things about mixed nuts in the shell is that it takes a while to crack them and get into them, especially things like some of the Brazil nuts and some of the other nuts, even walnuts. You have to pick them out. And so it really slows you down and allows you a little bit more time to get into a little bit better control. Having alternatives that you can do instead of eating what you may be craving at the time, because of all the cues and everything around, the smell, the memories, the family, the tradition, all those kinds of things. Just having some alternatives is really a good idea. One of the things that you may have to do is you may have to explain your goals and your needs to the people around you, to your family and to friends, and explain why this is so important for you, because because you have diabetes, because you're trying to avoid getting diabetes, perhaps some other kind of disease or something that runs in the family, or something that maybe you're at risk of, that you're just really trying to change, and just simply asking people to please support you. And then along with that, to love yourself enough to be a little bit assertive and say, this is what I need to do. And I want to remind everybody of something I say over and over again. If you eat crap, you're going to feel like crap. If not today, eventually. And it's the same thing for the other people around you. Being a diabetic, I know what that's like. I know what it's like to have my blood sugars go way up and then have them crash, and it is absolutely no fun to do that. And it's something because of the way I eat now, and because of the greater control that I have, and also exercise, it's something I don't experience anymore. And it's something that I would like to continue to avoid and not have. And it's one of the reasons why I teach the diabetes prevention classes, so that I can help other people do the same thing. I've also convinced two of my grandchildren that gum and dried fruit are actually a treat, and they really are and really can be. Some of the other things that you can have around that are alternatives are dark chocolate covered fruit without any or with very, very little added sugar. Those can be alternatives. My favorite, as I've said, are really nuts because it takes a while to get into them. And I'm not talking about nuts in a can or in a jar that you can just take a handful and eat. I'm talking about nuts in a shell, because they slow you down, and by the time you get done eating or cracking and getting into them and eating just a few, you may be in a little bit better control. Of course, going for a walk is even a better thing, and even better is taking a family member or a friend with you. If you absolutely must make something that is a tradition, and I would hope that people would try to get away from some of those things, but if you absolutely must make something that's a tradition, making it for your kids, for family members, for someone else, you want to avoid as many of the cues that tell you to eat as possible. And you also want to be in as much control. You're going to be in more control when you're not stressed and when you're not tired. So perhaps first thing in the morning, perhaps go to somebody else's house to make it, and perhaps make it with a friend and talk to that friend and say, I'm going to make this, but please, I don't want to eat any, so let me get it, help me get it made and just packaged and in the mail and get it off. You want to, at the same time, have alternatives there for you that you can snack on instead of, and better alternatives than the treat that you're making. Also, you may want to share this video with other people, because it can help you explain to other people and give other people the idea that this is something you're really trying to do. Now, one of the really difficult places for the holidays is at the office, because it seems like everybody brings all kinds of treats. If you can, talk to people, ask them to move those treats further away from you, but make sure that you bring alternatives that are more healthy, things that that you can eat instead of those other things, but also maybe some of them will choose and decide that they want to eat the more healthy alternatives. Please share this, and please subscribe to this channel. There's a lot of other videos, a lot of other information, and if you click on the link below, you'll see links to lots of recipes with more healthier alternatives, and I haven't been through them all, but I have a few little hints of things to look for. Avoid sugar if at all possible. Use things that maybe are sweetened with fruit or with fruit juice. Absolutely avoid high fructose corn syrup. If there's fats, use the healthier types of fats. Also, try to go with things that are more whole wheat. For example, pie shells that are made out of whole wheat or things like that. So there's a lot of alternatives that you can do. My wife used to make an absolutely fabulous apple pie that had no sugar, that was just sweetened with apple juice. Typically, I don't like to use things like apple juice, but again, I talk about poor choices, good choices, better choices, and best choices. And sometimes during the holiday, the best you can do is good and better choices. And that will help you have some alternatives to stay away from some of the really, really poor choices. So I hope you enjoy your holidays, and I hope you find some good alternatives, some things that you can eat instead, and also that you have an opportunity to get out for some walks with family members and friends, and just enjoy the bonding that you can do just by walking and visiting together. Thank you for watching.